When it's time to scale your business, it's time for Shopify. Get everything you need to grow the way you want. Like, all the way. Stack more sales with the best converting checkout on the planet. Track your cha-chings from every channel, right in one spot. And turn real-time reporting into big-time opportunities. Take your business to a whole new level. Switch to Shopify. Start your free trial today.
This is going to be an extremely busy month. I have to watch 104 soccer games, follow the pregame, the postgame, yell useless opinions at the TV. It's a lot. So I knew that when it comes to screening for colon cancer, the choice was clear. The Cologuard Plus test. It can be used at home and can only take 15 minutes, so I can do it during halftime and not miss any action. If you are 45 or older and at average risk, ask your healthcare provider about screening for colon cancer with the Cologuard test. You can also request a prescription at Cologuard.com.
Imagine a single tweet, right? Just a tweet about a college bus ride somehow exposing a massive temple heist, or a tiny synthetic blob in a laboratory that forces us to question what it actually means to be, well, alive. Welcome to today's deep dive.
Yeah, we have a really massive stack of materials in front of us today. 11 incredibly diverse sources. We're covering everything from domestic infrastructure and high-stakes political dominoes to shifting geopolitical tides in the Indo-Pacific.
It is a massive stack. And, in a world of just constant information overload, our mission today for you listening is to connect these seemingly disparate dots.
Exactly, because we are looking at a world that is constantly redefining its own rules. And really, the through line connecting all of this is what happens when a system is put under extreme pressure.
That's exactly what jumped out at me, actually. Today's deep dive is fundamentally about systems under stress. We're looking at how political structures, global supply chains, and even biological blueprints react when extreme force is applied, or when boundaries are pushed right to their breaking point.
Yeah.
So let's start right at home, looking at a system facing a very literal breakdown in security. We have a 9-page preliminary SIT report, that's a special investigation team, regarding the alleged pilferage of donations at the Ayodhya Ram Temple.
The specifics in this report are just staggering. It cites nearly 70 instances of alleged theft involving 6 suspects.
70.
Yeah, 70. And all of this was captured on CCTV in a remarkably short window, just between April 27th and June 5th.
Wow, so just over a month. But what is truly alarming here isn't just the act of theft, right? It is the mechanical breakdown of the security apparatus itself.
Oh, absolutely.
The report highlights severe supervisory failures. For instance, Anil Mishra, a senior trust functionary who actually helped draft the security protocols with the State Bank of India, allegedly failed to enforce those very safeguards.
Which highlights a core vulnerability in any institution. You can design the most rigorous standard operating procedures on paper, but if the human element fails to implement them, the system just collapses. The report points out that Subhash Srivastava, the counting room in charge, failed to enforce mandatory frisking. That single lapse, just people walking in and out without being checked, is identified as a principal reason the pilferage continued unchecked.
And the details get so granular, too. There's this section detailing a man named Ram Shankar Yadav, alias Tinu, who somehow held unauthorized keys to the donation boxes.
Yeah, that part is wild.
It's reported he even managed to get his relative, Manish Yadav, deployed onto the sensitive counting team. Tinu holding the unauthorized keys while getting his relative on the team isn't just a lapse. It's like a bank manager giving the vault combination to a stranger and then hiring that stranger's brother to audit the cash register.
It really is. And when a localized failure of infrastructure like a temple's accountability protocols becomes public, it instantly bleeds into the national political ecosystem. The mechanics of how this happens are fascinating to watch.
Oh, the political domino effect here is wild. It actually started with a completely unrelated tweet. Prime Minister Modi publicly praised BJP President Nitin Nabin's simplicity.
Right.
He shared a nostalgic post from Nabin's old college roommate, recalling how Nabin used to ride public buses in Delhi. So just a standard endorsement of political character.
Your routine piece of political messaging. But then Arvind Kejriwal immediately used it to pivot.
Exactly.
He thanked the PM for the anecdote, but then instantly demanded to know why individuals involved in the Ram Temple theft and alleged land scams were being protected. He used the momentum of the PM's tweet to knock the domino over into an attack on corruption.
And the chain reaction kept going. Former AAP leader Swati Maliwal jumped into the fray. She used Naveen's grassroots rise to contrast with Kejriwal, accusing Kejriwal of being an arrogant super CM who controls the Punjab government from behind the curtain.
So a conversation about a bus ride morphed into an indictment of state leadership in Punjab.
Right. And just to be clear for you listening, our goal here isn't to play judge and jury on who is right or wrong in Punjab or Ayodhya.
Definitely not.
We aren't endorsing any of these claims. We are simply looking at the mechanics of this ecosystem, how a single localized event instantly becomes a weaponized narrative on the national stage.
Because the political system is hyper-reactive right now. Every piece of daily news is leveraged for strategic narrative attacks. It is a pressure cooker. But the public demands answers when a foundation cracks, whether that foundation is political or made of literal concrete.
Which brings us to a terrifying structural failure. A portion of the newly inaugurated missing link tunnel on the Mumbai-Pune expressway collapsed.
Yeah, just awful.
This is 7,000 crore rupee project, touted as an...
Hey parents, how do you make smarter choices for your kids' college today? That's where Sally can help. With Sally, you can find scholarships, funding options, tools, and guidance all in one place. And if you need a loan, Sally has options for different families and different situations. College is only worth it if you do it right. So don't just help your kid go. Help them go smarter. Sally.com/GoParents.
Absolute engineering marvel, and it collapsed just 9 weeks after opening.
And it brought one of Maharashtra's busiest corridors to a dead halt. Thousands of commuters were stranded for hours without food or water in a highly dangerous environment.
The narrative battle started before the dust even settled, too. Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis blamed unprecedented rainfall, saying a landslide dumped 100 tons of debris onto the highway.
But the opposition jumped right in. Harshvardhan Sapkal and Aditya Thackeray alleged that 50% of the project funds went to kickbacks. Sapkal explicitly claimed that 7,000 crore rupees were effectively washed away by corruption, not rain.
Right. It comes back to the core question of accountability in these highly touted systems. When a massive, expensive project fails, the immediate public question is always, was this an act of God or an act of greed?
Exactly. The system broke under the pressure of severe weather, but the debate is about whether the foundation was already hollowed out.
And it isn't just new foundations facing intense scrutiny right now. What happens when the foundation being challenged isn't physical but historical?
That's a great point.
We are seeing historical infrastructure locked in fierce legal battles over ownership and identity.
There is a massive wave of attempts to reclaim or redefine historical spaces using the modern legal system.
Let's look at the Taj Mahal. The Allahabad High Court is seeking responses from the Center and the Archaeological Survey of India regarding a new petition. Advocate Harishankar Jain is claiming that the UNESCO site was originally a 12th century Shiva temple named Taj Mahal.
And the petitioners are demanding that an advocate commissioner inspect locked parts of the monument. They're pointing to architectural features, including a structure recorded as a Gaushala in ASI records.
Right.
And they're arguing that Hindu worship there should be protected under Article 25 of the Constitution.
And then, on a completely different timeline but the exact same legal battlefield, we have the Delhi Gymkhana Club. This is a 27.3-acre elite social club on Safdarjung Road.
A huge piece of prime real estate.
Huge. And the government terminated the club's perpetual lease, claiming they need to secure the land for defense infrastructure. Now, the High Court has stepped in to stay the estate officer's eviction proceedings to ensure procedural fairness. So I have to ask, why are courts suddenly litigating a 17th century mausoleum and a 20th century elite social club at the same time?
Because both stories are fundamentally about the modern state auditing its own legacy. The legal system is being used to interrogate the past. With the Taj Mahal, it's a battle over religious and cultural antiquity, really determining the very identity of a monument.
Right.
With the Gymkhana Club, it is a battle over colonial-era leases clashing with modern national security needs. The past is being put on trial by the present to determine who controls the space moving forward.
Auditing legacy within your own borders is one thing. But right now, we are seeing nations aggressively auditing their power and reach on the global map. Let's move to the geopolitical chessboard, specifically the Indo-Pacific.
We are seeing incredibly contrasting diplomatic and military strategies unfolding simultaneously in that region.
So on the diplomatic side, we have Prime Minister Modi arriving in Jakarta. He's taking off a three-nation tour that includes Australia and New Zealand. He was personally received at the airport by Indonesian President Prabowo Subianto.
A very warm reception.
Yeah, and the focus here is the Act East policy and the Mahasagar vision.
Mahasagar stands for Mutual and Holistic Advancement for Security Across the Regions. It is essentially a framework for cooperative security. And the joint visit to the Prambanan Temple, which is Indonesia's largest Hindu temple, is a classic soft power move to deepen cultural linkages. They are building alliances through shared history and mutual economic security.
But then right next door, you have a stark, jarring show of military power. The U.S. is expressing deep alarm because China just fired a dummy nuclear warhead from a submarine into the Pacific Ocean near the Solomon Islands.
Firing an intercontinental ballistic missile from a submarine over international waters is a massive geopolitical signal. I mean, it hasn't happened in decades.
Wow.
The U.S. State Department's Tommy Pigott heavily criticized this opaque nuclear buildup because it proves China's increasing ability to deploy a survivable sea-based nuclear deterrent.
Let's break down what survivable actually means in this context, because that word carries a lot of weight.
It does. A land-based missile silo can be targeted and destroyed in a first strike. But a nuclear submarine can hide deep underwater for months, completely undetected. If your country is attacked, that submarine guarantees you can launch a retaliatory second strike.
I see.
That is what makes it survivable. Proving they can launch an ICBM from the ocean means China can threaten the continental U.S. even if their mainland bases are compromised.
It fundamentally changes the threat calculus. And it's no coincidence that at the exact same time, Australia and Fiji are signing a major defense treaty to counter influence in the Pacific. But geopolitics isn't just about submarines and treaties, it's also about the raw mechanics of economics. Let's look at India-Japan trade and what I'm going to call the mango problem.
The mango problem. I like that. And the economic numbers between India and Japan are sobering. India's trade deficit with Japan has tripled over the last decade to $15.4 billion. They are currently reviewing their free trade agreement to try and address this.
And a perfect relatable example of why this deficit exists is mangoes. Japan suspended fresh mango imports from India because they detected lapses in pest control and disinfection procedures at Indian treatment facilities.
This is a textbook example of a non-tariff barrier. Japan isn't just slapping a tax on Indian mangoes, they are utilizing incredibly strict sanitary and phytosanitary standards known as SPS. Essentially, they are saying, your bug zapping process isn't rigorous enough for our
Welcome to a new era of baseball's great spectacle, the T-Mobile Home Run Derby, live on Netflix. The biggest sluggers in baseball put their talents to the test on All-Star Weekend. Raw power meets star power. Big swagger meets bigger slams. And you don't swing to make contact. You swing to make history. Watch the T-Mobile Home Run Derby live on Netflix, Monday, July 13th at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific.
agricultural ecosystem so your product cannot enter.
Right.
It highlights how difficult it is for Indian exporters to navigate foreign regulations.
But wait, if the regulations are that strict and the trade deficit is widening so drastically to $15.4 billion, why is India pushing so hard to maintain this relationship? What is the actual goal here?
The real prize isn't necessarily balanced trade in physical goods. It is foreign direct investment, or FDI. Japan is a crucial source of capital. During a recent summit, Japan committed to investing 10 trillion yen, that's about 5.5 lakh crore rupees in India over the next decade.
Well, okay.
We are talking about building infrastructure, semiconductor plants, and clean energy grids. The government is willing to swallow the mango suspensions and the trade deficit because that massive influx of Japanese capital will generate domestic employment and industrial growth.
Japan's investment secures long-term growth. But in the global economy, long-term plans can be derailed overnight by a single diplomatic handshake. Just look at the global oil market. Saudi Arabia just cut its Arab light crude price for Asian buyers by $11 a barrel. That is a 26-year record discount.
To understand why a major power like Saudi Arabia would make historic financial concessions, we really have to look at the mechanics of the global oil supply chain.
Right. A recent U.S.-Iran deal led to a halt in hostilities, which reopened the Strait of Hormuz. For those who might not follow maritime shipping, the Strait of Hormuz is a literal physical choke point.
Very narrow.
Yeah, a huge percentage of the world's oil has to pass through this narrow waterway. When tensions are high, shipments are constrained. Once the U.S.-Iran deal opened it up, ships poured through, flooding the Asian market with supply.
And you combine that sudden flood of supply with a recent OPEC Plus quota increase. OPEC Plus manipulates global oil prices by agreeing on how much oil each member country is allowed to pump. They recently increased those quotas, adding even more oil to the market. Suddenly, there is far more supply than demand.
So Saudi Aramco is looking at a flooded market, and they're forced to aggressively slash their prices just to keep their Asian customers from buying from someone else. It perfectly illustrates our theme of systems under stress.
Exactly.
The global energy ecosystem is incredibly fragile. A diplomatic agreement in one region instantly crashes the price of crude oil in another.
Saudi Arabia had to radically alter their pricing formula because the market environment changed abruptly. The old rules simply stopped working.
And adapting your formula to survive a hostile environment is exactly what the Indian cricket team is being forced to do right now. India is struggling on their UK tour, having lost 3 of 4 matches.
It's been tough to watch.
It has. For the crucial third T20 international against England, they are completely tinkering with the formula. They're expected to drop out-of-form leg spinner Ravi Bishnoi.
His recent performance has been heavily scrutinized. He bowled 3 back-foot no balls and conceded 60 runs at Old Trafford.
And we should probably explain why a back-foot no ball is so devastating in a T20 match. When a bowler's back foot touches or crosses the return crease, it's a penalty.
Right.
Not only does it give the batting team a free run, but the next delivery becomes a free hit where the batter cannot be dismissed. Giving away free hits and 60 runs in a short format game completely shifts the momentum. To fix this, India is looking to add an extra pacer, Prince Yadav.
They really need someone who can adapt to the physical environment of the pitch better than Prasidh Krishna, whose back-of-length style has been ineffective.
Yeah, a back-of-length delivery bounces higher and gives the batter more time to see the ball. On these UK pitches, that style is just too easy for the English batters to hit. India also needs their batters to step up. Abhishek Sharma has been consistent, hitting 59 and 43 off 24 balls, but they need Vaibhav Suryavanshi to aggressively attack England's varied bowling lineup.
They are attempting to engineer a lineup that can actually function under extreme pressure.
But out in Minnesota, researchers have taken that concept to its literal extreme. They are trying to bioengineer life from scratch. This is our final story today, and it is absolutely mind-bending. Kate Adamala's team at the University of Minnesota has created something called the Spud Cell.
It is currently the most lifelike synthetic cell ever created. It is built entirely from non-living chemical components.
Unreal.
It has 36 purified enzymes, a fatty membrane, and a tiny synthetic genome, and it can actually divide and grow in a petri dish.
But I have to ask, if it walks like a cell and it divides like a cell, is it actually alive? At what point does a complex chemical reaction become biology?
That is the profound philosophical debate at the heart of this research. Scientifically speaking, it is not alive because it has absolutely zero autonomy. It cannot produce its own energy. It relies entirely on externally supplied fats and sugars to function.
So it's essentially...
This episode is brought to you by Starbucks.
That is fire. Whoa, that's good.
This might be the drink of the summer.
Okay, I like this one too. I'm rocking with it, okay?
Try it for yourself. Starbucks Refreshers Concentrates are coming home. Find them in the coffee aisle and make it yours.
a biological puppet. We have to spoon-feed it every single ingredient for it to do anything.
Precisely. Furthermore, it lacks what we call the cytoskeletal machinery. Basically, it doesn't have the internal scaffolding or the moving trucks needed to pack up and evenly divide its DNA when it splits. So when the spud cell divides, the DNA distribution is completely haphazard.
There's also some drama attached to this breakthrough in the scientific community, isn't there? Some scientists are pointing out that this announcement was timed perfectly to draw attention to Ayurvedi's newly launched nonprofit called Biotic, which is currently seeking funding.
The timing of scientific announcements is always scrutinized, especially when funding is involved. But looking past the controversy, the practical implications are massive. Spud cell is a fully engineerable chemical platform.
Right.
It's like a factory without a manager. If they can perfect this, we could one day have a synthetic system that manufactures medicines, fertilizers, or plastics without relying on petroleum-based processes. It's a completely sterile, dry shippable laboratory.
It's an incredible vision of the future. And as we wrap up today's deep dive, I think the spud cell actually provides a perfect metaphor for everything we've unpacked today.
Think about the mechanics of it. The spud cell has all the complex machinery of life, but it requires constant external inputs: fats, sugars, energy just to function. It cannot sustain itself.
The human systems we explored today operate on the exact same logic. The global oil market relies entirely on external treaties and open straits to maintain stability. The India-Japan trade relationship relies on external FDI to justify a massive trade deficit. And our domestic infrastructure, whether it's a 7,000-core tunnel or the accountability protocols in a temple counting room, relies entirely on the external pressure of oversight to avoid total collapse. Every single one of these systems, no matter how brilliantly designed on paper, breaks down the moment that external input is removed.
It forces us to look at the structures around us and ask what is actually holding them together.
Exactly, which leaves you, the listener, with a final thought to ponder as you go about your day. The Spud Cell shows us that we can build the exact machinery of life without it actually being alive. When you look at the human systems we talked about today, from political parties to massive infrastructure projects to global alliances, how many of them are just going through the motions, perfectly constructed on paper, but just waiting for an external spark of true accountability to actually function?
It is a critical question for any system under stress.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the information around you, keep looking for the mechanisms behind the headlines, and we will see you next time.